Welcome in, Chiefs Kingdom, to Cheifs Latest, your one-stop spot for everything Kansas City Chiefs in 15 minutes or less. It is your host, Calvin Silvers. Happy Friday. Hopefully you guys have some fun and exciting plans for the weekend. I'll tell you what, I know what I'm doing tonight, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. I'm kicking up and I'm watching football all 4 days. There's a great slate, both college and NFL-wise, including our own Chiefs going against the Ravens. Both teams enter at 1-2. I said in yesterday's episode, not only was I surprised that both teams are entering at 1-2, but I thought someone would at least be 500. Well, I think my brain went back to high school math class, where I was never the smartest because that's impossible. A team can't be 500 before week 4. So if you caught that in yesterday's episode, hey, you're smarter than I am. And I don't know if that's a high bar to set, but at least you caught on to that. I think my brain, as I was talking, week 4, 2 plus 2 equals 4, 2-2, 500. Obviously, just a little brain fart there. But the Chiefs do have a chance to become 2-2 after this week. So it is possible, just not before week 4. But speaking of Ravens and Chiefs, I'm going to break down what I want to see offensively and defensively from this Chiefs team and this game Sunday, and we have a trade rumor to go over. But before we dive into any of that, if you're new to the channel, please just take a second and hit that subscribe button. As I mentioned, we got news, rumors, including trades, and just overall opinions on the Kansas City Chiefs in 15 minutes or less. And because of that, I can't go as in-depth as I would like on some of these topics, but I like to think I hit all the major points. So hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications because we have daily videos here at Cheifs Latest, Monday through Friday. It's going to be week 5 here soon. You're not going to want to miss any more of the action. So please hit that subscribe button as it not only helps me in the channel, but it's going to help you stay up to date with everything Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs offense heading into this Ravens showdown, Baltimore, that defense, it's not as scary as it used to be in the past, but this whole team is coming into this game with a chip on their shoulder. They want to prove that they are not defined by Derrick Henry's turnovers, that they're not defined by this leaky defense. The Chiefs, though, have their own obstacle to navigate on offense with Xavier Worthy's return from that scary labrum tear that he suffered in week 1 against the Chargers, where Kelsey just rammed right into him, leveled him. Something you can't be doing as a veteran, but he later went on to apologize. But that just left us fans basically saying, here we go again. But Matt Nagy dropped some good news, saying that Worthy's running around, that he's looking good out on the practice field. Losing Worthy's record-breaking speed, it killed our initial deep threat. And it killed our game plan week 1. That's why we got off to such a slow start as well. But Tyquan Thornton has been getting behind defenses. He has something to say about being a deep threat now. The sad thing is he just doesn't have the speed of Worthy. But Worthy's on-field presence, it just forces Baltimore's safeties to respect the vertical game, especially with Thornton there. It's going to open up the underneath routes for tight ends like Noah Gray, who I'm about to get into in a second. Nagy's hyping up Worthy as not only a physical spark to this offense, but a psychological spark too, saying the locker room's vibe is electric with him and Rashee Rice both nearing their returns. The nice thing is about this, Juju Smith-Schuster, Hollywood Brown, they can now slide into more comfortable roles or their initial roles. Juju Smith-Schuster can grind over the middle, Brown can work the intermediate routes, and Thornton becomes a nasty complementary piece, especially with the deep threat. I just can't overlook the 165-pound frame, though, that Worthy possesses and its durability issues. And the Chiefs can't let him chase extra yards if it means taking constant hit from linebackers. They sat him in week 3, showing that they're playing the long game, and that's smart. There was no reason to rush him into that game last week. Let him get as much rest as he can, but you do need him in this one. This is a big game. But speaking of long games and just waiting a while for things, can Hollywood Brown finally get some going for this offense? Can he finally get in the end zone and score a touchdown? His last touchdown came October 29th, 2023. Yeah, it was that long ago. But guess who it came against? That's right, the Ravens. Both receivers could have a decent day, especially against a depleted Baltimore secondary, which is ranked second worst in passing yards allowed this season. And I mentioned Noah Gray, you'll likely see him more. Not only did Brett Beach lock him up through 2026, his snap counts are climbing while Kelsey's are dipping. Gray's snap jumped from 41% in week 1 to 68% in week 3, while Kelsey started at 84% and dropped now to 74% of offensive snaps. The run game, I've been just constantly nitpicking at it for probably the past 2-3 weeks, but it is a mess. Mahomes is leading our run game at 108 rushing yards per game because the backfield's got no pop to it. However, this is a golden opportunity to build some confidence. Baltimore's run defense is ranked 30th. It's basically begging to be exploited. What does the film show? If we look back at Worthy's 2024 tape, it highlights the stem release off the line, which is going to force corners to back off. It's going to create space for Kelsey or Gray, who have their choice routes underneath. His jet motions, it pulled linebackers out of positions. It sets up the play action. You can just see this from last season's success that he had late. It's perfect. Reed is scheming Gray into combo routes, chip blocks, especially in his 12 personnel sets. His inline blocking holds up against edge rushers. It's also a nice touch. We just got to watch the film on these guys. They're good pieces to utilize. Baltimore's run defense, it lacks gap integrity. And without Matabike, the Chiefs need to try and lean into the run game a tad more than what we have in the previous weeks. But we have seen Pacheco at least step it up, or them at least trust him a tad more. Why does this matter? Gray's rise means that Kelsey can play fewer snaps, likely having to play a form of load management to preserve his legs for December. He's old. He's getting to 36. But if the run game can't exploit Baltimore's 149 yards allowed per game, it's a red flag for the backfield ceiling. So really, to sum this up, the Chiefs' offense has a chance to find some sort of success against Baltimore's wounded defense, especially with Worthy's return. But if Mahomes is still our top rusher, we're staring at the same old problems offensively. But what about defensively? Because, hey, I haven't had too many bad things to say about that. So let's zero in on the Chiefs defense as they gear up for a pissed off Derrick Henry, who's been a turnover machine. He's fumbled in every game this season. And his latest quote, I would take it as a warning shot, saying, quote, those tables turn. And when they do, I'll be ready, unquote. The good news, though, Spags defenses have had Henry's number. Held him to 46 yards and a touchdown in week 1 last year, and under 70 yards in the 2020 AFC Championship when Henry was a Titan. So this has been going on for a while. Spag knows how to bottle up this former Alabama beast. It's been costly too, Henry's fumbles that is. They've killed Baltimore in their last 2 losses. You had the late game cough up, open the door for the Bills' epic comeback in week 1, historic comeback in week 1, and another that helped Detroit pull away in week 3. He started out hot with 169 yards in the opener, but got clamped to 23 yards by Cleveland and then 50 by Detroit. On the flip side, let's get away from Henry here for a second. On the flip side for the Chiefs, Noel Williams continues to step up in the secondary. He wasn't pegged to start, but injuries happened. Fulton, he's still out, so that thrusted him into action, and Williams is delivering. He's locking down guys like Devontae Smith, Malik Neighbors over the past 2 weeks. His DB coach is singing his praises, saying Williams' ability to handle top receivers frees up Trent McDuffie to slide into the slot where he excels the most. And not that, last week, sparked our first 2 picks of the year. Then there's George Karlaftis, who's got a golden matchup against the Ravens' right tackle. Kansas City's defense, it mirrors Detroit's. And when you look at the Lions, who had Al-Qaeda Muhammad, who's playing Karlaftis' spot, rack up 2.5 sacks in Baltimore's loss. They sacked Lamar Jackson 7 total times. George Karlaftis, hey man, Can you get 2.5 sacks? Spags' gap discipline against Henry is textbook. Stack the box, force early contact, and use linebackers like Nick Bolton to spy his cutbacks. Limit that second level burst that he can get to. Karlaftis' quick first step, his bend, it can exploit the second-year Rosengarten's footwork, especially on speed-to-power moves, much like Muhammad's edge dominance on Monday. The Chiefs have a knack for forcing fumbles as well, which is good, especially against someone like Derrick Henry. They were tied for the fifth most fumbles forced in the league last season at 15. Now, they only recovered 7 of those 15, but it just clearly shows that they have a great nose for the ball. Force the fumbles, stall their offense, and give Mahomes short fields to work with. Williams' emergence as the secondary means that they should be able to handle the Baltimore wide receiver core. Even if Fulton's hobbled, which we've seen the past couple weeks, but Karlaftis will be a big factor to disrupt Lamar's rhythm. Let's see if we can get him to capture his own 2.5 sacks. I don't see why not. All right, we're going to go and talk about some fun facts. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer in this episode, but we do have to talk about some that's a glaring issue. It's a brewing concern for the Chiefs, and that's Harrison Butker's shaky start. This guy's been money with an 88.6% career field goal rate, but in 2025, he's at a wobbly 77.8% field goals and a brutal 60% on extra points. Yeah, not good. His big leg is still there, banging 3 from beyond 50 yards, including a 59-yarder in the Chargers loss. But when it comes to the short stuff, yikes. He's pushed a 40-yard field goal wide against the Giants, which could have made it 9-0 at that point, and then he yanked an extra point left late in the fourth quarter. Yes, it was pushed back, but that doesn't excuse it. Dave Tobe is pointing to Butker's ball contact as the culprit. He said that they're overdoing long kicks in practice, so they're doing shorter kicks to lock in his plant foot and get that ball spin down. And speaking of tight, 5 of the last 6 Chiefs versus Ravens clashes were decided by 7 points or less, including last year's toenail win in the opener. Literally a toenail. Mahomes is 5-1 against Baltimore, while Lamar's 1-5 record with his lone dub in 2021 doesn't put much confidence into this one for them. The Ravens defense, despite injuries, still brings physicality. If Butker's off in a one-score game, where, again, 5 of 6 matchups landed, it could cost us big. A loss Sunday not only risk a playoff spot, but also they want to avoid their first set of consecutive home losses since they lost 3 straight in a 2023 stretch against the Eagles, Bills, and Raiders. But a win gets you back on track for that playoff run, and Mahomes will pass Russell Wilson for the most wins by a quarterback in his first 9 seasons. That's the cherry on top of a win. I would love to see that. And that also kind of says how good Russell Wilson was early on in his career too. But if the Chiefs' offense sputters like the first half of the Giants game, we'll have to turn to Butker's leg. And I can't watch any more kicks sail far either side. Clean up those short kick misses, or we'll be on the wrong end in this series that has had plenty of heart-stopping finishes that ends with defeat, usually for the Ravens. I would hate to see it happen for the Chiefs. Well, as you know, we like to do here at Cheifs Latest, we like to dive into the trade talks. We like to keep it as realistic as possible. Sometimes we get a little crazy, but this one, it's a little mix of both realistic and crazy. I've been drilling into the Chiefs' backfield, and it's because it's rightfully deserved. This backfield is begging for a jolt, and analysts are buzzing about New Orleans' Alvin Kamara as the answer to this problem for the Chiefs. I brought this up, and now more analysts are hopping on. This 5-time Pro Bowler has been the Saints' offensive engine since 2017. And he's still a dual threat at the age of 30. He's demanding attention on every snap from the defense. The Saints are in full-on rebuild mode. They might even be eyeing another quarterback hunt next offseason. So trading Kamara could net them some draft picks, could net them some cap relief, But here's the catch. $10 million base salary, $18.6 million contract. It's a tight squeeze for KC's $2.84 million cap space. So we're going to need to restructure, or New Orleans is going to have to eat some of the cash. And I don't know if we're going to do either. Kamara's been vocal also about staying a Saint, which could complicate things. But his trade value isn't what it used to be. So his knack for turning checkdowns into chuck plays could transform our offense, especially with Mahomes' quick reads. In 3 games this year, he's got a modest 3.7 yards per carry, but his 9 catches on 10 targets screams versatility. If Beach can swing this, Kamara's easily a plug-and-play upgrade in our stagnant run game. What the film shows, well, his cutback vision, his hip sync and zone schemes, it shreds over pursuing linebackers, and his leverage on routes coming out of the backfield forces safeties to cheat up. It's going to open some deep shots for Worthy or Brown or both. So with the Chiefs' 108 rushing yards per game lagging, Kamara could be the spark to balance Nagy's play calling or Andy Reid's play calling, whoever you want to argue is doing it. But his cap hit, his loyalty to New Orleans means Beach has to work some magic. Can he pull it off? We'll see as the trade deadline keeps slowly approaching. Well, that's all that I have for you on this lovely Friday. As I mentioned, I hope you guys have a fun and safe weekend. Let me know down in the comments what you want to see from the Chiefs on this game Sunday against the Ravens. And hopefully we can end up 2-2 and be 500, which again wasn't possible before week 4. But I'm keeping my fingers crossed that's where we can end up after Sunday. Once again, I'm your host, Calvin Silvers. You are tuning in to Cheifs Latest. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. And until next time, have a good one.